Hi everyone, this is Cody, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make a alcohol burning stove that looks something like this. Okay, so to make this stove you're going to need a few things. First of all, you're going to need some sort of 12-ounce beverage can. It can be whatever sort. Now if you're like me and you don't drink that stuff, then you can look in recycling centers and they'll generally have some of them. You have to find one without any dents though. You're going to need some sort of knife, preferably like a utility knife with a replaceable blade, as we are going to be using it on aluminum. Then some pliers. They don't have to be good, just have to work. A pair of scissors, and a Sharpie or some marker. Okay, so now what you want to do is score the can. Now, you want the bottom section to be 1 inch and the top to be 1 1/4 inches. Now, how I do this is just find something, doesn't matter what it is, and then take a measurement of the blade height. So, this looks like it's about 1 inch. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's nice if it's good. So, what I'm going to do is take the can and basically score the can with it flat on the ground along the blade. And just do this till you have a nice good score. Okay, so as you can see, or maybe not, now we have a score line there. So what we can do with that is to get it started, depending on how good your knife is, you may be able to push on a weak spot, but then you can use a knife and kind of get it started like that, and then you should be able to press on it like this. And simply go around your score line. You know, there's still some water in this, just water, I washed it. And then you have the bottom half. Okay, so for the top half, you want to set your blade at 1 1/4 inches, and then do the same thing. Be careful not to cut yourself on the knife or on the sharp aluminum. Okay, so that should probably be enough. Now find the score mark and start cutting it away, whatever method you choose to do that. Now you can actually do this with a marker pen and scissors, but if you do it correctly this way, it actually works better and gives you a cleaner edge. There. So then, try not to get too many dents, but they won't be too much of a problem. Now you're going to want to save this in without any dents as well, as we'll be using it later. Okay, so for the next part, what we're going to do is basically cut out this top. Now, you kind of want to score it, but from my experience, I just go around until it starts to cut through, and then I kind of cut it the rest of the way through. It can take time. Now, if you can do this a better way, that's good, but this is how I do it. Now you have to be careful when you're doing that, as you can end up with a blade like this. So obviously I'm going to need to replace this one. Okay, so as you can see, I just broke through. So now I'm going to basically just go all the way along the can. And cut the top off. So there, now we have a can with no top. So what you might want to do is take a file. So I have a file on my multi-tool somewhere here, and kind of file around there. You don't, this isn't required, but just to minimize the sharp edges. So as you can see, that's actually pretty smooth. Not perfect, but it'll do. So now we have the top and the bottom done, and now we need to move on to this. So you're going to need to get your scissors. Now find a place you can cut straight up it. So generally there's some sort of kind of seam or line that goes up. So use that to guide you when you're cutting it. And you can cut it just in one piece, or so line it up. I try to make it a fairly straight cut. There, but once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So then, if you've done a good job with one of your sides, you should be able to use that as a good kind of measurement point. Now you're going to want to make this an 1.5 inches. Actually, so you're going to need a tape measure or some form of measuring device. Pick the best side, which is that. And then you're also going to need your Sharpie. So at a 1.5 inches, you want to mark on one side and then do the same on the other side. Okay, now you're going to need something long and straight. So this wooden hook thing will work. A ruler will work as well. So then just draw a line going down there. And now basically just cut this out as straight as possible. So there, now there's this. We don't need that. So now here is the piece of metal. Now, if you were taking the paint off these, you don't need to take it off this, because this isn't going to show anyway. So now with this piece, what you're going to do, or what I do, is put it inside of the top piece. Now you probably want to make sure there's no burrs on this first, which I'm going to take off them. Okay, so I've gotten rid of the burrs on the inside of that, basically the outer portion of the inside bit. So now, this piece of metal we've cut, we want to put that in and kind of make it as tight as we comfortably can. You still need a little bit of room, as you're going to have to put all this together and slide it in there. And then, once you think you've got a good fit, you can take it off and tape it together. And since we're using tape, that allows us to check it again to make sure it fits. So this actually probably should be a little bit smaller, so I'm going to fix that. Okay, so I think I found something that fits. It's pretty tight, but it's still loose enough I can get it over there somewhat easily. So I've got it taped in the right spot. And now that you have it taped there, what you want to do is basically find kind of the center of this and cut one side about halfway. So there. And now cut the exact opposite side. So basically the other side, right where that side is. It'll make sense once I've untaped it. And actually, if you need a bit of help figuring out where it is, what you can do is where you cut there, you can actually mark it with a Sharpie. And then on this side, you can know right where to cut. It's basically about halfway up right there. Now you can untape it. Take the tape off completely. And now you should have 2 slits. Now if they're not perfect, you can cut them more. I'm not sure if these will fit all the way down. So you're going to put it together kind of like this. Yeah, so I need to cut one of these longer, but you get the idea. Now it should hold itself together. Okay, so here I've got them cut long enough, so now it fits together like this. Now you want to double check it fits in here good. So so there we go, it fits. So now you can basically trim these. Don't make them too short, but just trim them. That will take some weight off of the stove, and they also won't get in the way. So now, if one side fits better, you're going to want to keep that side as the top, but it doesn't matter all that much. So now basically what I'm going to do is make 3 notches. You can make 2, you can make whatever number works best for you, but for me I make 3, so you want to make them about this big, you know, about 1/4 of an inch or so, just a little triangle. So I make 3 of them, so 1 there, one there, and then 1 over here. You don't want to make these too small, because that's where basically where your fuel is going to come into this evaporation chamber. Now you want those to face up, so they're going to go down. Those holes you made are going to go down into that. So basically, now the stove's ready to be put together. So what I like to do is kind of, actually it's not completely ready to be put together yet. So next what you want to do is grab this, the bottom part, and your pair of pliers. So in this case I'm using a multi-tool, and basically every 1/4 of an inch or so you want to go halfway up approximately and give it just a twist. So like this. Just do that all the way around. So there. So now it should look something like that. And the reason you do this is so you can actually fit it underneath this. Now you can kind of expand this by expanding it on the back of one of these, but I'm not going to do that. I don't feel it's necessary, but it may work better for you that way. So now you're going to want to put this in one of the sides. So I put it in there, and then grab the other side, and basically once you got them fit together, something like this, and you should be able to press them together. Now you have to make sure that ring, the piece of metal inside, is fitted around that rim at the top of the can. Now if you've made it too small, that will be really difficult to do. So it should fit together something like this. Now this one, I must have cut something a little bit wrong, so it's not going together all the way. So there's a simple fix to that, which is basically take it apart, and trim about 1/4 inch off of this. Okay, so I trimmed a little bit less than 1/4 inch, but for now, if you trim too much, you won't be able to fit this back together, but hopefully it'll be okay. So like that, and then once again, fit that together. Line this up with the rim of the can. Now once you've got it clear of the rim, and at this point you can basically just push down, making sure you're clear, and I like to do it on the hard surface like this. Just push down evenly. You want this to be even, so if you set a pot on it, it's not going to tip over. Which if you cut the inner piece right, it should fit together evenly. Don't put too much pressure, as you'll squash the can, or you could cut yourself. So there is basically the finished product. Now you're going to have some dents around the edge from where you bent the can, but now what we need to do is put holes around the edge. Now you want about a total, what I do is 16 holes. So I go put one here, then there. So basically I will put one here, and then go straight across, and then put one here, and then basically put one in the middle of that, and then in the middle of those ones, and then just do that till you have 16. Okay, so now that you've got that done, what I like to do is find something about the right height that I can run my Sharpie along with this upside down and get a perfect line. Okay, so what I use is a 1/16 inch drill bit, just in a cordless drill. And then you just drill every one of the holes and do it on the line to make it straight. Now you can get more complicated with this and draw something that's measured perfectly to make all the holes in the right spot, but honestly it's not going to make that much difference. Now actually you want to do the holes before you put this all together. That's something I forgot, so it was a bit of a mistake, but you can, if you're careful, drill the holes now. Just don't go in too far. Okay, so once you've got all the holes drilled, it should look something like this, so you can just use some rubbing alcohol to wipe all the Sharpie off. Okay, so now our stove is pretty much finished. You can use it like this, it'll work good like this, but if you want to go the extra step and take off the paint and polish it, now what you really want to do for taking off the paint is take it off with a Scotch-Brite pad before you've opened the can while it's still pressurized. But if you don't have the ability to do that, you can basically jam it on the end of a drill chuck. That's what I did. Then you spin the drill and you rub this on it. And it'll take a while, but eventually you'll get the paint off. And then you can use some 000 or quadruple zero steel wool and kind of give it a nice brushed polished look like that. But I'm not going to do this yet on this can. Or stove, I guess it is now. Now, there's one other thing you're going to want. Unless you have a pot stand, you're going to need something to set your pot on so the stove doesn't stick to your pot and so it will keep burning. As the cold from your pot will basically go through this and into this chamber, and then it won't be hot enough for the flames to come out of those holes, basically. So what these are, they're just a piece of coat hanger, steel wire. So I can set them on and then set my pot on that, and it weighs virtually nothing. It doesn't even, my scale doesn't even pick them up. and it makes everything work. Now for the fuel in the stove, there's two options. There you can run it on denatured alcohol or heat, which is gasoline antifreeze, so it's basically methanol. Now both of those work fine. I'm using heat, that's what I've got. They cost about the same, and then I've just got it in a small bottle like this. Okay, so here I've got the stove, so I've got the little hooks on it. So I'm just going to add this heat. Now there's not really any way to turn off these stoves other than let them burn out or suffocate them, so you don't want to add more than you need. So there, I'm just adding the whole thing. There's about half a container left. So then I'm going to light it up. If I can, my lighter will work there. So as you can see, it's on. So now we have to wait a little bit for it to bloom. So right now, just the main flame is burning, and then once it blooms, these outside holes that we've done will start burning. So as you can see here, it's starting to bloom. So now we just wait for that to get a little bit bigger. Okay, so it's pretty much fully bloomed, so now I'm just going to set 1 cup of water on it. So just like that. So I'm going to try and center it, and that looks good. So then I'm going to set a stopwatch. So there we go, counting. So we'll see how long it takes it to boil. Okay, so we have it about 4 minutes and 12 seconds, pretty much full boil. So now depending on how your stove is, it may do better or worse than this, depending on how you built it. But that's been my video on how to build one of these little alcohol stoves. So if you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you all in the next video.